Hey, what's up guys? It's Rob Gordon, the Wingman, out here at the lake to try and film a tutorial on how to foil slide. This is a great request from Barbecued Sunfish on Instagram, which is a great handle. I tried to get some footage yesterday at Cabrillo on the flat water inside because the flat water is really great for this trick. But the wind was awful. I was getting so frustrated. So today we're gonna probably rig up the 7 meter because the secret to this trick is really being fully powered. And I don't know if it's gonna be that windy. It's not that windy yet. Someone's out there, but they're not on foil yet. I'm gonna stick with the 125 progression. I can foil slide on the Hyper 210, which is a bigger foil. It handles tip breaches really well, so it's pretty good for foil sliding. But my theory on the foil slide is the most efficient foil, and the faster you can go, the longer you can slide. That might be wrong. Maybe a heavy guy, maybe I actually slide better on the bigger foil. I don't know. I tend to think the most efficient foil is going to be the best. I can also foil slide on my Viper, but it doesn't really handle breaches that well. To me, it seems like the best foil for foil slides is foils that handle breaches well. Something like a Cloud 9. The Hyper also handles breaches well. The progression, anything with that mustache shape where I'll go grab the foil. Yeah, I think any foil with this sort of little mustache shape where the tip comes up at the end, that seems to handle breaches well, because when the tip comes out of the water, this sheds the water and doesn't allow the air bubbles or whatever to propagate and pop you off your foil. Let me show you that up close. You can kind of see it, kind of a little bit mustache shape. Oh, the F1 skate, the new Axis art fires look like they would be great to do some tip breaches and foil slides as well. The downside is it takes a lot for me to get up on this foil. It doesn't have quite as much low end to keep me going if the slide is slow. So what I'm going to try and do is go really fast on this to get the most efficiency out of this efficient wing. So that's what I'm going to use for the gear. Hopefully the wind comes up and we're able to get powered. Let me talk you through the steps on how to begin to play with some of the foil slides and then how to maximize your slide. I'm not the best foil slider out there. I think partly because I'm heavy, I think that makes a big difference. If you're really light, you're just gonna skip across the surface better. So for me, the tricks are really getting a lot of speed and then getting a nice stretch of flat water and executing it perfectly and being really powered. So let me show you how to do it. I think the first step when you're trying to learn how to foil slide is to start working on your tip breaches and recoveries. And like I said, certain foils will do that better than certain other foils. So like the Spitfire is going to do that better than the HPS. I love the HPS series, but they have a different way of the lift, and it comes from like both sides, and so it doesn't really handle tip breaches as well as like the Spitfire or those new art fires, which look really sick. How do you do that? I'll do it on your strong side probably, but it doesn't really matter. I do it both ways. You're going to want to get going probably on like a beam reach is where I would start with this. Get some nice, so 90 degrees to the wind, in case you're not familiar with those sailing terms. And you're going to get some nice good power. Make sure your backhand is far enough back on the back handle to where when you sheet in, you're going to be fully powered. Sometimes I'll ride more in the front of the wing, on the front of the handles, and you're not going to get your full power there. You need to be a little bit further back to get your full power if the handles are placed correctly. So you're going to get your speed, and then once you get a nice bit of speed, you know, get your foil, I would say halfway, your mast halfway out of the water, somewhere around there. Just act like you're going to initiate a hard heel side turn. And as you do that, you're going to sheet in with your back hand, right? So anytime you go upwind, you need to compensate by bringing the angle of the wing a little bit back. So get some speed, and then initiate a hard heel side carve, getting that wing in. And then you're gonna have to look at your foil to see how far it's coming out of the water. You don't want it to come so far out of the water that you crash. And if you don't come far enough out, then it's just gonna be a hard turn, which is fine as well. So start with smaller ones and work your way up. So just sheet in, kind of whip it out. You start your hard carve, you pull the wing back, and then you have to release it at a certain point and sort of extend the front hand to let the wing repower, and that will pull you back downwind. So you're going to go upwind when you do that turn, and then when you extend the right arm, just like in a windsurfer, extending the front hand of the sail, it will pull you back downwind. When you do the tip breach, you are going to lose some of your lift, especially if the foil is not made for tip breaches. You're going to lose your lift and start to come down. So as you do it, you'll need to compensate by adding more back foot pressure and more power in the wing, depending on where your feet are and where your mast is. The other tip I would recommend, I do these with my back foot out of the straps, my front foot in the straps. Before you start, take your back foot and place it a little bit further back and a little bit closer to the rail of the board, the toe side rail. So then when you're going along, you're able to do the turn, weight that back foot, and you get a lot of control over the foil. You start to carve upwind and then extend your hand back. And then because you've compensated by adding that back foot pressure, it can be easy to go too far once you start repowering, so you might get a dolphin effect. So it's just a real balance there of trying to get enough back foot pressure to keep the lift, and then timing it so that you bring your front foot pressure back to stay on foil. It can be pretty hard to stay on foil through these and through the foil slides, especially if you're a heavier rider. So it's just a balance thing and timing. Usually when I foil slide, I end up going down for a second and then I try and pull myself back up, which is another reason it's nice to have wind. Okay, let's take a look at the breach practice. You see my foot's already back and on the edge of the board. I'm getting on that rail. And then I'm getting a little power. I'm just leaning back as I sheet in, and then I'm letting the wing come back forward and going back downwind. And you see I'm looking at the foil to make sure I'm doing it right. And then I just do a little baby foil slide here just to sort of feel out the conditions. So let's break it down again. This is another one you can see there. I'm purposely putting my foot right where it needs to be. I'm grabbing the handles and the good power. I'm getting some speed. And then I'm just getting ready to sort of lean back and start my heel side turn. And there I did not get the tips out because I'm not looking at the foil. I'm not turning hard enough. That one I got them out a little bit. And then I think this one I get it out quite a bit and I lose all my lift. You see, yeah, there I lost my lift and I touched down and I had to control. You see how you really have to be delicate about trying to get your balance after you come down. Yeah, pretty good ones. Just getting the feel for breaching and then recovering. Okay, so that's how you start working on your tip breaches, and that will get you comfortable with the feeling of the tips coming out of the water and losing lift and then having to repower and get yourself back on foil. The great thing is once you're comfortable with that, it's a very useful skill for when you're riding waves. If you want to carve really hard, it's really sick to get that tip out and get nice hard carves like McFloey. If you've ever seen McFloey on the SUP, that dude has some of the sickest turns. He's turning that thing so hard. So it's nice to try and emulate that on the wave with the wing. Once you get the tip breaches down and you're starting to feel comfortable with, then yeah, you can go ahead and start working on the foil slide. You can do it the same session. If you get a few good tip breaches, yeah, go ahead and start doing the foil slide. So let's talk about that. For me, the most important part of the foil slide is to have a lot of speed going into it. So usually you're going to start once again at a beam reach, fully powered. And then we might even progress to going to a broad reach if you can get more speed, but we'll talk about that in a second. Look for a nice strong gust. It's not going to work if you try and do this in a lull. It's just not. If you're not powered, you're not going to go anywhere, because you need a lot more power, because there's more friction as you're going across the top of the water than when you're just riding the foil. So look for a nice strong gust, and if you can find some flat water, that's the ideal place to do it. So either you're on a lake or a harbor, or there's a nice piece of swell that is coming down and you can kind of get on that. My favorite thing to do with these foil slides is to do them going down an actual breaking wave, like a nice big 5-foot, smooth face wave. It's so cool to slide down the wave across the top of the water, and it actually is easier because you got a nice smooth surface, and then the power of the wave keeps you going forward, and it also helps you repower. That's my favorite way to do it. Might want to work on it a few times before you try it in the wave. You get that speed going, and for the foil slide, I do it with both feet in the straps. It gives you a lot more control. Can you do it strapless? Absolutely, but I think it's going to require a little bit more skill, and it just feels a little sketchier. So I do it with both feet in the straps. So you get that power, and when you're learning to do them, I would recommend doing them sort of like we're doing those tip breaches I just taught you. So you're going along beam reach, getting a lot of power, and then you're going to do the same thing as we did on the tip breach, sheet in and kind of lean back for a hard turn. But what we're going to do now is we're going to slowly and very controlled start, as we're going faster and faster, we start to bring the mast out of the water, and then we don't do the tip breach until the foil is right at the surface. So we're going along, we're getting that speed, we start to bring the foil up slowly, but we're keeping our speed, and then right as the foil is about to breach, we sort of do our tip breach. So do a little bit of an upwind heel side turn, sheet in, and then now kind of lean back a little bit and let that foil skid across the water. Once you run out of power, it's going to start to go back down. So as that happens, you're going to, once again, extend the front arm, point downwind a little bit, and then try and repower and get on foil. If you are able to do that before you come off the top of the water, you might be able to not touch back down. You might be able to stay on foil the whole time, especially if you're a lighter weight rider, fully powered. When you're sliding across the water, if you lean too far back, you are going to slow yourself down more. So if you can stay a little bit more parallel to the water, you'll go further, but it's a little bit harder to control, right? So let me talk to it one more time. Yeah, we're powered, we're in the straps, we start getting the more speed, we start getting up higher in the water as we're about to breach. We just do a little bit of an upwind, like slide a little bit, or a little bit of an upwind turn. We sheet in the backhand, start that slide, and then as we're starting to lose power, extend the front arm, lean forward a bit, and try and repower. You do need that back foot pressure once again to compensate for the losing of the lift. One pitfall here that makes this trick a little bit harder is when you start to put that back foot pressure on and turn upwind to get on the slide, it's very easy just to jump. Easier to jump than it is to very controlled get that foil just sliding at the right time. You'll start to initiate your slide, you'll push back a little bit too far, you'll end up in the air, you'll stay back because you're trying to slide, and then you'll kind of skid across the water. And you'll stop. It won't be a real slide, it'll be more like a skipping stone, but one that's not going very far. Be real delicate when you're getting that speed and bringing that mast up, bringing that foil up out of the water. You don't want to go so fast that you end up jumping. You want to just be really delicate. It's a real finesse sort of move. Okay, so here's a couple examples of the tip breach foil slide where we're just really trying to breach the tip and skid out off of that. It's almost like throwing a wake in wakeboarding or kite surfing, where you're doing more of a skid than a slide here. So let me break this down in slow motion. We're getting the speed. You can see I'm crouched down to get as much speed as I can. I'm on that 7-meter wing. It's not super windy yet. The foil comes out of the water, and I'm really just riding that one wing tip as a skid until I run out of power, and then I have to try and get back up. That's the first step I want you to work on. That's the first foil slide step. And then this is a little bit better version where it's a little bit more of a slide, and then I repower. And I added this one to show you how difficult it can be to control getting back on foil. So I'm sliding, and then I lose the power, so I push down hard to get up. Oh, I went too far. Now I'm down, up, and that's the tricky part. That will get you sliding. You'll get some good slides. If you're fully powered, you're on a good foil, especially if you don't weigh very much, that'll probably get you a couple of second ride, maybe even longer if you get lucky. To make your slides even longer, you need to focus on a couple of things, which is maybe not turning up as much into the wind, and maybe keeping the foil a little bit more parallel to the water. In order to do that, you might want to go a little bit more on a broad reach. So now you're a little bit off the wind. You're not going 90 degrees. You're going a little bit past that. You're getting more speed. And then as you slide, don't lean back quite so much. Just bring that foil up and try and skid across the surface. So that's my theory on what will make a better slide. And here you can see the wind finally came up at like 4:30 for 10-20 minutes, and it was really windy on that 7-meter, so I had a temp that was actually really good. Here I'm getting a ton of speed. I'm super lit, and now there's even these channels with a little bit of swell for me to ride in, and that was the best slide I had all day. So let's break that one down in slow motion. Yeah, look at that. It was almost a little bit of swell. So it was like gusting 27 at this point. I'm on a 7-meter, so that's how much power you really need as a big boy for this move. So look how I'm just really getting as much power as possible. I'm crouched down. I bring the foil up like I'm going to breach it, but then I get it more parallel and really ride that foil straight down the line. And let me look at that one more time. There, I get up. I still think it's easiest to break the water tension by starting it as a breach, but you can probably just go ahead and keep the foil parallel if you're really, really skilled. But here I'm just breaking the water tension. Then as soon as I'm up, I'm flattening out the foil, and I'm skidding across the water, and I'm trying really hard to make myself as weightless as possible. You know, my body weight is on the wing and not on the board of the foil. I want that foil and that board just to be super light to skid as long as possible. So that's why the more wind, the better. And then I did come down on that one, but it was so windy that it was very easy to repower even on this small foil. And then I just put some back foot pressure and I'm off again. So anyway, I think that's pretty good. So lastly, I just want to show you what happens if you try and come up too parallel and why I don't usually do it. Yeah, you get a better ride if you execute it perfectly, but if you mess it up, it's really hard to do. You'll see I'm coming up, I'm going really parallel right now, and I just breach so much that then the foil comes down and I eat it. So that's the problem with that. One thing I want to say to you guys is, when I make these videos, I'm not trying to show off and show like my best foil slide or my best backwind. Someone came up to me in the gorge and was like, "Oh, you're getting a lot better at your backwinds from when you did the tutorial." And I'm like, yes and no. I am getting better, but I make these tutorials on days often that aren't that good. So the conditions are maybe not that good. And I'm not trying to show off. This is the Wingman Foil Club. All I'm trying to do is get some tips out there so we can work on some stuff and progress. So if you want to see me show off, go to my Instagram. Tutorials are not about me. These tutorials are about just us learning some stuff so we can all get better. And I hope you guys will try this. Please sign up for the Wingman Foil Club forum. Go in there and post up you trying some foil slides. I want to see it. I want us to encourage each other. I think that website's a really cool resource that people aren't really using. If you want to buy some merch, you'll see the cool pink new hoodie I've got on today. If you want to tip me for making these tutorials, you can throw me a couple of bucks on the Super Thanks feature. I really appreciate it. Anyone who tips me on here, send me any question you want. I'll answer it. I'll give you free coaching. I really appreciate those guys. Anyway, thanks guys. I hope you're having a good one, and let's get on the water. Hopefully the wind will come up.